In the words of David Land's bandwagon kid, Fernando Alonso, he's my favourite IndyCar driver. And after his last few seasons in the series, I never thought any team would ever touch him again with a 10-foot pole. But I was wrong, because Renault has signed Fernando Alonso to replace the departing Daniel Ricciardo alongside Esteban Ocon for the 2021 Formula 1 season. Oh boy. As many of you know, Ricciardo was one of the major players in the very early silly season following the announcement that Sebastian Vettel would be vacating his seat at Ferrari at the end of the season. The seat was then promptly filled by Carlos Sainz Jr. and Daniel Ricciardo seized the opportunity to grab his now vacant McLaren seat. That meant that the opportunity to drive for Renault was now up for grabs. Many speculated that the recently fired Nico Hulkenberg would get his chance to return to the team. Others thought that maybe Sebastian Vettel would take his place instead. Some even speculated that Guanyu Zhou would be able to get the seat, as he would have amassed enough super license points by the end of this year's Formula 2 season. But against my expectations, and to a certain extent my hopes, Fernando Alonso was signed with the team. In my personal opinion, Renault are making a mistake. Yes, Fernando Alonso is probably worthy of the seat, and he definitely has the pace to take it. He wouldn't have won 2 world championships if he wasn't. But Alonso is notorious for creating toxic environments at basically every team he goes to, by constantly complaining if he doesn't have the best car on the grid. Let's also not forget that he can be very, very bad at PR. I cite the way in which he probably irreparably damaged the relationship between Honda and McLaren. Honda won't even let Alonso drive a race car with one of their engines in the back of it, as shown by the fact that Honda would not allow him to race with Andretti Autosport again at the Indianapolis 500. Renault is a team that has slowly been rising through the constructors' standings year by year after they acquired the Lotus team at the end of 2015. The last thing they need right now is someone who creates toxic environments at teams everywhere he goes and is a PR time bomb. Furthermore, I think that by putting Alonso in that seat, he has denied Guanyu Zhou, who is a reasonably promising rookie, a chance in a Formula 1 car, and it's also denied Nico Hulkenberg a chance of redemption, which I think is very unfortunate. I'd also be interested to see how this will affect Alonso's future attempts at the Indianapolis 500. For this year's race, McLaren Schmidt-Peterson proved to literally be his only option, as none of the big teams actually had a seat for him, and he certainly wasn't going to go back to Carlin after his abysmal 2019 qualifying run. But if he fails to win this year and then goes to Renault, does that mean he's burnt his bridges with McLaren, therefore ruining any further chances he would have had with them to return to Indy? And if that's the case, would any of the big teams in IndyCar run him at the 500? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But what do I know? In order to gather a few more opinions, I decided to find some YouTubers to voice their opinions on the subject. Take it away.
Hi guys, first of all, thanks so much for having me on and feeling like I can actually add to this conversation about Fernando Alonso coming back to Renault for the 2021 season. So I'm going to start off with some positive to begin with. Fernando is a team leader. He has the experience which Renault fully well need in order to try and catapult the team to where they want it to be beyond the midfield. He is a double world champion. He is so well known for dragging any dog of a car to the points, which is brilliant. However, I don't think he is the man for the job. Why do I think that? I can't help but think the way that Fernando is, the way that he was at McLaren, the sort of negativity that Alonso had, Renault's reliability issues, which we're already seeing at the start of this 2020 season, is a recipe for disaster. I think this can go either one of two ways for Renault. It can either be absolutely brilliant, it improves the team so much with Fernando's experience, his presence, just purely his presence in Formula 1 regardless is huge. It'll bring a lot of money into the sport, much greater audiences, might bring sort of like the older generation who might have left the sport for a little bit back to the sport. But on the other side, it can be the start of Renault's downfall. Now, there's been questions recently regarding whether Renault is going to stay. Are they really that committed towards the new regulations, especially since they have been pushed back to 2022? But the signing of Alonso has made it very, very clear that they are here to stay. They are here to try and make it to the top. But I can't think that the combination of Renault, Cyril and Alonso is an absolute recipe for disaster. At this point, it is confirmed that their Young Drivers Academy is useless and it's a dead end at this point. I think that was very, very clear when Jack Aitken moved from the Renault Academy to Williams earlier this year. He just simply wasn't getting the opportunity. And now with the signing of Alonso for a multi-year deal, that prevents any young drivers coming through into the team. A lot of people are arguing, saying the best combination tends to be a rookie or inexperienced driver with an experienced driver, which is why Ocon and Alonso work. But Renault haven't been on it for a very, very long time, so surely you need to see some change. We've already seen Ferrari are making that change, signing Leclerc and Sainz for the 2021 season. I just don't understand why Renault wouldn't do the same. With Ocon obviously being there for the 2021 season as well as Alonso, these young drivers, they've got nowhere to go. Where are they going to go? Are they going to hit this dead wall and never progress to Formula 1 and have to go through other career routes? For example, going to Formula E is where a lot of drivers tend to end up these days, which I feel would be such a huge shame for their talent drivers. Whether Renault are going to look into having a junior team, which really I think they should. Who knows? I really do hope it works out for Renault. I just can't help but think that Fernando Alonso is the beginning of the end for Renault. And that's all I've really got to say.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. What do I think about the F1? The news that Renault have signed Alonso, it's absolute crap. Why did you sign him? You have Zhou and Lingard in your academy. Sorry about that. You have Zhou and Lingard in your academy and you've picked somebody like Alonso to drive your car. Honestly, I hope he sinks them. I honestly hate Cyril Abiteboul. I hope he sinks them. But I hope he doesn't sink them for the sake of Guanyu Zhou and Christian Lingard, who have the potential to be the greatest F1 drivers from their countries. Hopefully Lingard isn't a new Jan Magnussen. And also, you could have picked Zhou and Lingard. What are you going to do, sack Ocon? That's definitely going to happen because, yeah, Renault hate their drivers. Instead of getting a better car, you just get a better driver. They went from Magnussen to Hulkenberg to Sainz to Ricciardo. They got higher and higher each year. And now they've got Alonso. Why don't you pick a young driver who's really, really talented and sign him up? Not the absolute idiot. Well, not idiot, the team ruiner. He is the Sebastian Vettel spinning of team ruins. He loves ruining teams for a living. I said that in my own video. I'm out. I'm honestly out.
When I think of Fernando Alonso, there are several races which immediately spring to mind. One of them is Valencia 2012, where he proved to all of us that he can take this midfield car that was it wasn't bad, but it was by no means the best car on the grid, and then he managed to drag it to a win. And that, for me, sums up Fernando Alonso's talent. But in terms of him as a driver, I think going to Renault, again, I don't think that's the best thing to do. For Renault and for Alonso, because Alonso is obviously not going to be happy in a car that's not capable of winning, and because he's not happy, he's going to bring that toxicity that he is so known for in F1, and he's going to bring that to Renault, and that in itself will make working for Renault and being around that Renault F1 team, that'll make it quite a negative experience. And therefore, I don't think that the Renault team is going to benefit from him. In terms of a short-term gain, it's entirely possible that Fernando Alonso will be able to pull something out of the bag. For instance, he might even be able to drag this car to a podium, which would be impressive, having a look at Renault's recent form. But looking at Alonso's recent form, it is entirely possible. So, yeah, even though he is 39, I don't think that he is going to stop anytime soon. So, yeah, there's my opinion. Back over to Jack.
Thank you so much, guys. Those were the voices of BefF1, JWF1 and LiamTalksF1. The links to their pages will be in the description below. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. What do you think of the Fernando Alonso return to Formula 1? Have Renault made the right call? Leave any of your thoughts in the comments below. I do actually read them all, so you may as well say something, and I'll most likely respond to you. All the socials are in the description below, including the T-Star Instagram, Twitter, and Discord server, as well as my own personal Twitter. Please go check those links out if you haven't already done so. Anyway, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.